So Samsung just announced the Galaxy Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. Both phones add 5G, faster performance, a slightly new design, and better S Pen support. With Samsung's smartphone lineup now more crowded than ever, it kind of feels like the Note has come full circle, going from a niche device to mainstream and back to niche now. Which begs the question, should Samsung stop making the Galaxy Note? I'm Jason Cipriani with Jason Perlow, and this is Jason Squared, and that's exactly what we're going to debate today. So, before we dive into whether or not the Note line should even exist, Jason, why don't we cover exactly what Samsung announced this morning?
Yeah, so I mean, it again. It's they've announced a refresh, of course, to the Galaxy Note line. It's the Note 20. They've got a basic model, that's $999,
Right.
without micro SD support, 128 gig of storage, and not much else. The real phone that I think is of interest is the Note 20 Ultra, which has all the features. But again, $1,300 phablet.
Yeah, starting price.
I mean, despite everything else that they've possibly announced in terms of features, that's what hits you right in the face, like right there.
Right. Yeah, so there's two phones like you said. The 999 Note 20 doesn't have all the features that would qualify it to be a traditional Note device, right? The Note line
No,
has always been Samsung throws everything they have into that device. You pay whatever it is, $800, $900, a few years ago, and you got everything. And for the
why didn't they just take the S20 and take the label off and put and just call it, say, Note 20? You know,
I mean, basically
just
and we're gonna get there, and that's exactly what they should do. Is really what it is. So you have this $1,000 Note 20 that no one is going to want to buy. No
no.
micro SD card support. A true business user needs that extra storage. It only comes in one storage amount, 128 gigs. So if you need more than that, you don't have expandable storage
No.
on the base model. The screen itself is 60 hertz compared to 120 hertz on the Note 20, Note 20 Ultra. And the latency for the S Pen is 40 milliseconds compared to 9 milliseconds, which honestly, you're not going to tell the difference. I don't think I can tell the difference. I used a device a couple weeks ago that had 9 millisecond latency, and
Not unless you're superhuman.
I mean,
Not unless you're the Flash. The Flash might have some problems.
Right.
Scribbling his laundry list. But
Yeah.
other than that,
Yeah, so that
the
leaves you the buying option for the most people is going to be the Note 20 Ultra, which, like you said, starts at $1,300, has all the features, including the fancy camera. One thing I think is interesting is the camera with the S20 Ultra had 100 times space zoom, and it was horrible. It got a lot of negative reviews because you zoom in 100 times and it's shaky and you get a blurry photo. So on the Note 20 Ultra, they dropped it down to 50x with the caveat that they're trying to improve image quality at high zoom. Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a little bit better. I know at 30x on the standard S20 Plus, it was a lot better. But so
and that's great, Jason, because while I'm here stuck in my house in Florida, I can do 50x zooms on the gecko lizard sitting on my patio, right?
well, if you
That's
wanted to look at your neighbor's coffee cup on their porch, maybe you
Yeah.
want to go shopping, window shopping. I don't know exactly what you would use it for right now, but yeah. So we have the Note 20 Ultra, and if you look at it on a spec sheet next to the S20 Ultra, barring a difference in processor, they're virtually the same exact device. There's some design tweaks, and of course, there's a slot for the S Pen on the Note 20, but they're more or less identical. 5G support, sub 6, and millimeter wave, and the list goes on. Battery life is there, all of that. What I'm struggling here. What's the point of the Note line right now?
Well, one uses a pen and the other one doesn't. You paying
Right.
extra money for pen compatibility? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they're almost. I mean, if you look at bill of materials between the S20 Plus and the Note 10, Note 20 Plus, they're very, very, very close in bill of materials. I mean,
Yeah.
just in terms of, if you look at the parts lists, they're almost exactly the same.
Yeah, they have to be.
Within minimal tolerances, they're very similar. Very, very, very similar.
So it begs the question, what does Samsung do with the Note line? Do they keep doing this and releasing minor updates, mirroring updates, I guess I should say, between the S series and the Note series every spring and every late summer or early fall, late summer?
Jason, all I know is that they have too many damn phones. Like I
They
last
do.
week, all right, I did my article about tablets versus phones,
Right.
combinations, right? And I was trying to make a matrix of products that were out there, trying to get all the prices and the screen diameters, right, and how they correlated. I could not figure out how many phones Samsung actually offers, right? Forget world, right? Because every geo they've got 19 different versions of whatever they're trying to sell. Just in the North American market, right? If you look at you got that A series, right, which is their lower level line of a lot of people don't know about, but are actually kind of good values, right? They got a whole mess of different A series, and then you got the Galaxy S series, which I don't know how many SKUs within how many models that you can possibly buy, and then Note you got multiple SKUs. So what is it, 12 or something like that? I don't know. It's some
It,
ridiculous number. It's too many. That I can
the
tell you
the
that.
number on its own is ridiculous, but then when you start looking at the price points and you see that the A series starts to intertwine with the S10 series, and then you have like the S10 Lite, that
S10e and
and
what?
all those prices start to get really close to each other and sometimes are identical, or you can get an S10 for less than you could get an A71 5G. Look,
Jason,
streamline
I
it.
think General Motors makes less cars than than Samsung makes phones now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know if it's factual, but it definitely
It's
feels that way.
yeah.
Oh man, so what should they do here? My idea is consolidate the two lines. Maybe instead of doing an S20, S20 Plus, S20 Ultra, you do an S20, an S20 Plus, and an S20 Note Edition,
Yeah.
right? And that takes the Ultra place. And instead of having a place for the S Pen to slide into and having, taking up space inside the phone and all of that, the Galaxy Tab S7, which they also announced today, and the Tab S6, which launched last year, the S Pen actually magnetically attaches to the back of the device. So while you're carrying it around, it's there, it's handy, it's convenient. Now on a phone, I get sliding in and out of pocket or your bag. It's probably going to fall off, but they can release accessories, cases, whatever that's going to be a holder for the S Pen, right? Like, I get that people use the S Pen if they have a Note. It seems very popular. If you buy a Note, you're going to use the S Pen, but there has to be a better way of doing this to streamline the entire product lineup. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, look, I think they should do something very similar to what Apple does. Like, Apple, interestingly enough, looks like they're going to be increasing SKUs in this lineup, but still they're
Yeah.
only going to have like 4 phones. Right? Realistically, 5. Okay, so if you include the SE in that line, they're going to have iPhone 12, they're going to have iPhone 12 Max, they're going to have iPhone 12 Pro, and then Pro Max. Now, I don't know if they need 4. I guess they thought that they had enough. They had enough in their supply chain and the ability to do enough slight variance on the production line that it didn't really impact their costs, right? So I guess they saw a need for having 2 phones in the mid range, almost exactly the same size with different specs. I don't know if that's going to be necessarily a great thing for them to do going forward, but I guess this is an experiment they wanted to see this year and see what happened. I think Samsung needs to have realistically just 3 devices, like three major SKU types, right?
Right.
You need a budget phone that replaces the A50 in the $300 to $400 range, right? And I think that something that had some medium, sort of entry medium level, feature sets, to something that's comparable to what Google just released, with the 4A. Something like that in the $300 to $400 range. They need something like that, right? They need something in the medium range at the $600 to $700 level, something in a 6-inch style screen diameter, and then they need a phablet style phone that may come in a few different SKUs, like you said. Maybe one of them can be a pen edition. Now, of course, They should be probably standardizing, in terms of flash storage. I don't think they need 5 different, flash storage SKUs. They
Right.
probably just need a 128 and a 256, and they should be having, and micro SD should be on everything. That's a hallmark of Android. Every single phone should have micro SD. And frankly, I think they should be biting the bullet with their own SoC technology, right? They don't need to have, for the North American market, Qualcomm when they do Exynos in the entire rest of the world, especially with all these network upgrades coming out at all the North American carriers. They should be using Exynos across the line on all their phones. They shouldn't be using Qualcomm because that adds a significant bill of materials cost, and it would make them more competitive, in my opinion. I don't know what you think, but I think the Exynos is perfectly adequate for what 90% of the users out there need.
So I've reviewed a few devices with Samsung's own processor in it just in the last few months, and both of them were extremely slow and sluggish. Not to the point where the device was unusable, but I have to think that if they had used a Qualcomm Snapdragon instead of that, the performance would have been a little bit better. So I think they should make the change, but they also should work quite a bit on improving performance if
They
they're
need
going
to.
to make
They
that
need
change.
to. They need to invest money in their
Yeah.
in their own technology for sure.
It needs to be a complete approach, not just we have these chips, let's throw it in and hope for the best. So it's. I think as a whole, the smartphone market feels really crowded right now, especially as we're all tightening our budgets, we're all stuck at home, and the upgrade cycle comes around, and it's what do I want to spend money on, and what is actually worth investing my money in, and I get the business and productivity use cases for the Note line. It's always been there since it first, well, when it first launched, it was a phablet that everyone panned because the screen was way too big and why do you need a stylus and all that. And then it caught on. But now, because their flagship phones, the S series phones they release in April and May, have caught up and sometimes exceed what the Note line in August releases, there's not a lot of room for both. And I think they can, like we said, streamline the lineup and provide something that is consumer focused as well as something that is business and B2B focused, enterprise focused as well. I mean, they're basically playing a game of words when they announce the S series and Note series and how they promote them and market them. They're saying the same thing for both of the high-end devices in both lineups. They're just using different words, so it sounds like one is for productivity and one is for gaming, although both devices have gaming built in, and it's a mess.
Jason, it's a mess. And look, both Samsung and Apple got caught with their pants down this year. Everybody in the industry got caught with their pants down. Nobody was expecting COVID. Nobody was expecting that everyone would have to be work from home and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, going forward, look, let's assume that, we get some positive changes. We get some vaccines out there. People can start going back outside again. But the reality is, I think that the work from home situation is going to be here to stay. I know some major corporations that at this point are planning for people never to go back in the office, regardless of the health situation, right? I think they've learned now to be more agile and people can work from home. You don't need this phablet thing if you're working from home. Right. What I need is my computer with my 2 monitors, right? Or my laptop. If I need a phone, I need a phone to act as a phone. Or if I need a content consumption device, really I need a tablet. I mean, we had this discussion. So I think that, there's going to be some vertical industries where you might need a phablet for field use, certain types of professionals, but I don't think that that's a very large percentage of the population anymore. I just don't see a need for this thing as
Right.
as a dedicated product.
Yeah, and if Samsung needs to have a double release cycle for flagship phones, announce a couple phones in your lineup. Maybe your low end entry level phones come out in March, and then your high end S series phones with your Note edition comes out in August. Like, I get that they have a dual release cycle, and that's just the cadence they've found themselves in and used for the last few years. And upgrade cycles are timed to that, so it makes sense for them to stick to some sort of schedule there. But they definitely need, at this point, it feels like need to switch it up when they release and what they release it. Then. If that makes any sense. I think I confused myself. So any closing thoughts, Jason?
All I know, Jason, is the prices on these things are nuts.
Yeah.
Just and that goes for Apple as well, right? I don't see the need why your 90% of the people out there need to spend more than $400-$500 on a phone, and that's okay. Even with upgrades and trade in values, so assume you get 150, 200 on something optimally, right? So you get that savings there, but so your outlay on upgrade shouldn't be more than 500, $600 tops. If you really want to go crazy, right? I think that these companies need to do better resource planning, better supply planning, and they can't assume everybody's has that kind of cash every year or two. $1,300 is just a lot of money.
It is
a huge amount of money for a small device.
And I haven't seen pricing for the 512 gigabyte model, but you have to assume it's $200 or $300 more. I didn't see that today when they announced it. So it's a huge investment for a couple of years. 5G's in there. I don't have 5G here. I know some people do and use it and love it. We just did another video with editor-in-chief of ZDNet, Larry, and he loves it. He uses it all the time, the hotspot functionality of it, but he's probably the only person I've heard actually enjoy using 5G and have a need for it. Outside of that, you're spending a lot of money for something that maybe you'll start to use and take advantage over the next 2 years, and it is a lot of money. $1,300, $1,500 for a phone. Yeah, hopefully these prices start to drop in the coming releases and cycles we have coming up. It probably won't be this year, obviously, but hopefully that change happens soon. For Jason Perlow, I'm Jason Cipriani. This is Jason Squared. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out more of our work at zdnet.com.